Well, hello there, intentional streaming fans. Welcome to another Wednesday live edition with Jarvis.
Hey guys, happy early Valentine's Day to you all out there.
And myself, Flip, for all you suckers that are going to be stuck at Valentine's Day tomorrow. Pop in one of those earbuds and listen to us while she complains.
Oh, I didn't say that.
So, a couple of quick things to get out of the way here. You can always get a hold of us on our Instagram. Jeez, wow.
Hey, that could be coming.
Could be coming. On our Twitter at INTStreamPod. Or chuck us an email at intentionalstreaming@gmail.com. So we're looking forward to a great show tonight. We'll hop into our news and notes, and then we're gonna continue our look at this year's NFL draft class with the running backs, and we're definitely going to get into some spirited conversation here during tonight's show.
Especially because we all believe that there's probably 3 future Hall of Fame running backs coming out of this class. I caught you mid-drink on that one, didn't I?
Boy, I about had to plug my nose. I was going to drown there.
Your computer monitor about got a free cleaning.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, boy. That wasn't going to be pretty.
Yeah, that last statement was laced with some pretty heavy sarcasm for all of you out there.
Yeah, to do a little foreshadowing here, if you thought the rookie class last week, the quarterbacks was bad, the running backs doesn't get any better. But let's hop into our news and notes, and let's look at the biggest news of this past week. Browns signed Kareem Hunt, formerly of the Kansas City Chiefs. $1 million on his contract. What do you think of that, Jarvis?
No, I think the price is right. I figured he was going to go somewhere early. I didn't think it was going to be this early, but I figured it was going to be on the cheap. You know, you got a guy here with that type of history, and the fan base, how are they going to react to something like that? How are the NFL owners and all the critics out there going to react to that? So you're going to have to get him on the cheap. This is going to be, in my opinion, it comes down to being just like a 1-year kind of prove it, here's your second chance type deal.
Yeah, I think it's about $600,000, then another $400,000 of incentives. I'm not sure what the incentives base are. I'm guessing they're fairly reasonable. But the question is, what about Nick Chubb? What's going on with this guy?
Well, I think when the news broke, I think that was everybody's question. I mean, how could it not be?
I mean, Cleveland was not one of the places that you were connecting dots saying it makes sense Hunt going to Cleveland, because, well, it doesn't. I mean, you got Duke Johnson there as well.
And they came out earlier this week and said that he's not on the market right now. Trading him is not set in stone. So it doesn't make a lot of sense out the gate, but who knows what they have in mind for their offensive scheme going into next year. I mean, they certainly got enough weapons on that offense.
I mean, you look at that. They got the Callaway kid at wide receiver, Jarvis Landry. You got Njoku, and both Chubb and Hunt and
Duke Johnson, and you got a rising Baker Mayfield. And we talked about this the other night. And their offensive line, guys, it's actually a really solid offensive line.
It is.
So their offensive firepower could show itself next year in many more ways than they did this year.
Mm-hmm. Now, another interesting aspect of this, because of how he was released, and here's the fun, quirky, nerdy stuff that I love about the NFL. The Browns actually will hold his contract rights for 2020 under a restricted free agent tag. Now, what that basically means is they have the option to basically place a tag on him that will pay him like a first round pick. If they placed a first round tender on him, would be somewhere around $5 million.
And that would be, they would only do that if he had like a really giant successful year.
Correct. Yep. Or possibly looking to trade him. I mean, there's just so many unknowns here. The second round tag would be $2.5 million or so. The original round tenders are a lot lower than that. I think about $1.5 million, but or maybe it's closer to. Yeah, it's probably right around there. But what happens with this is the Browns will get if let's say they throw the second round tender on them, and let's say Miami comes along and offers Hunt X amount for a contract, then the Browns would have, I think it's 5 days to match the offer. Otherwise, the Dolphins would give them a second round pick. Mm-hmm. Now, that's definitely in play here for Hunt.
Yeah, and we're going to get an opportunity to see if he is really as good as what he played, or if he was a product of a great system. Mm-hmm. This guy was drafted 86th overall. He was the third round pick. He wasn't drafted high. He wasn't drafted the first or second round to be what he was. He landed in a great situation, and whether or not that he was an actual, product of that system. I mean, we're seeing that with Damian Williams. Where did he come from?
They did try out Hunt, or they did try out Ware for a couple of weeks, and
right, and he wasn't above Ware.
No,
but he's able to stay healthy.
Mm-hmm. And Ware really didn't do much in that time, and I think Damian Williams even had a week there where they tried him out and he didn't do much, and then they finally just went with him, and then he blew up.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I'm sure that a lot of, especially dynasty Nick Chubb owners, are just left scratching their head.
They got to be a bit devastated by this. So if you have, let's say you have one or both these guys on your team, what do you do with them in a dynasty?
I think you hold both right now, unless you get someone that's really gung ho about him and coming after you with an outlandish offer that you can't say no to. I say you hold them. I don't know.
Would you put, because we'll know about Hunt's suspension within probably the next 2 to 3 weeks. But if it's a relatively short, let's say 4 to 6 weeks, do you actually put Hunt on your? I mean, if you have a taxi squad like a lot of dynasty teams,
if you do have a taxi squad and you're able to do that and pull that off and put Hunt on your taxi and start and leave Nick Chubb up in your roster, that's the way to go.
Oh, see, I don't know about that, because
that's what I would do.
Because
at that time, you're not obligated to put him in your lineup or anything like that, and you have the option to keep him next year if he does, in fact, produce, or you could trade him at any point. You're not going to be faced with the decision at the end of the year, okay, if they do both have great seasons, who am I keeping?
And see, this is where I would be looking at starting out the year, definitely having either or both.
Both on a taxi?
On my taxi down below.
That's fair enough. Yeah, good point.
Unfortunately, you're probably going to end up week 10, fighting for a playoff spot and going, geez, do I pull the trigger?
But what about the other aspect of it? What if this could be a potential Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram situation where both are startable assets each and every week?
Very, very valid point. Very valid point. It definitely hurts both their redraft values.
I'll be curious if anybody out there has a situation. Let us know. Tell us your thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Tell us what you're going to be doing with these guys. Are you gonna roster them? Are you gonna try to stash them? Are you looking to actually trade these guys away?
Or are you trying to trade for them
or
on the cheap
and see if you can get a heck of a steal out of it? Yeah, very interested to see what people think.
Yep, lots of question marks there. Another big question mark. Antonio Brown tweets out his goodbye to Pittsburgh.
I want traded. I want out.
Where are we at with this, Flip? As our resident Steeler fan.
Well, let me wipe away the tears first. And I will absolutely say that Antonio Brown has played his last game in Pittsburgh.
Let the record show Flip just wiped away those tears with his Antonio Brown jersey.
Yes. And which will be hung in the closet right next to Le'Veon Bell's jersey. So, all in one fell swoop of a year. So, yeah, I think him coming out and saying I want to be traded, I think is done and over with. You know, the interesting thing is what's really going to happen.
Well, he puts this out there saying, like, basically his official goodbye, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities that he can't get traded. Is that what I was reading?
Well,
or
no,
like they're not giving permission to trade him?
They have not given him permission yet.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to. I'm guessing there's some back channel talk between his agent and the Steelers trying to work something out. You know, the Steelers giving up a future Hall of Fame wide receiver and maybe getting a second round pick in return. You know, and sitting on a pile of dead money off the deal. You know, he's going to get paid $22 million this year. If the Steelers trade him, they'll save $1 million.
Wow.
Of that $22 million. So, and you take 100 receptions out of that offense right there.
Mm-hmm.
And it changes the team's dynamics. I think it sucks. You know, I don't know exactly what Brown's issue is.
I don't think a lot of people do.
You know,
there's a lot going on.
He's had so many blow-ups the last year, and then, you know, the whole missing week 17 where a lot of people says he quit on the team. You don't hear that from the Steeler players, though. Cam Hayward came out, their defensive captain, a couple weeks ago, and basically, you know, said, you know, let's talk. You know, let's get some conversation going. I think he's gone, though. Where he's going to land, a lot of people are pointing towards San Fran.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But, you know, you talk to San Fran fans, and they're like, we don't get it.
There's another team that's out there that's getting into the rumor mill of potential landing spots. It's actually Denver. You know, he has a history with Munchak. Didn't he have a history with Fangio too at one point? No, I don't believe so. No, it was Munchak, and then there was another coach that's with Denver now, and I cannot think of his name, but he had some experience with him, and they think that with them they could actually kind of control him, you know, so to speak.
Good luck on that one.
Yeah, but it's just whether or not, you know, Denver wants to make that move. As a Broncos fan, I would rather not try it, but that's just me.
You know, he's got the incident a couple weeks ago where he pushed down his ex-girlfriend. You know, a lot of people are saying that's going to hurt his trade value. I don't think it really is. I don't think it was like I'm going to assume it was not like a two-handed shove where she's, you know, off her feet, you know,
right,
head over heels. You know, I'm guessing it wasn't something like that.
I mean, as a team, do you look at this as like a potential second coming of a TO situation?
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people are really, really pointing.
Mm-hmm. Ton of talent. He brings amazing playmaking ability to your team, but it's somewhat cancerous in the locker room.
Mm-hmm. You know, everybody remembers T.O. doing sit-ups
in the driveway.
Yeah. You know, AB he's had a number of incidents the last year. You know, goes back to 2017 where, you know, he beat up a Gatorade container on the sidelines, and then you have him chucking furniture off his condo balcony last April, and then you have, you know, the week 17 thing, and then you have the pushing of the girlfriend. I mean, it's just, and then there's a lot of like bizarre tweets that he's done throughout the year, and then he shows up with the milk mustache. I don't know if you've seen that photo or not of him.
No.
With his bleached mustache.
Oh, no. Oh gosh.
It's I don't know. Maybe that's a thing.
Yeah. Who knows? But we'll see how that ends up. And sticking with those receiver news, Texans released wide receiver Demaryius Thomas with a failed physical designation. This pretty much is an indication, Flip, that he's got a long recovery ahead of him. And, the move creates $14 million in cap space for the Texans. I don't see this as being a big surprise or a shocker.
I don't think that surprises anybody. And it's a shame because, Houston really wanted a wide receiver that could stay healthy opposite.
And he was the guy up until that. Had a long track record of staying healthy with Denver. He's got a very special place in my heart as a diehard Broncos fan. I'd like to see a situation where if he doesn't get another opportunity, that Denver signs him to a one-day contract and he can retire a Bronco.
Yeah, and I really think this very well. I know he said, I want to keep on playing, but boy, I think this might be the end.
It could be. You're on the wrong side of 30. That's a devastating injury. It's really difficult to rebound from.
Because it was the Achilles, is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
And we saw how long Foreman took coming back from his Achilles the year before.
Absolutely.
It was over a year.
Yeah. Those are tough to rebound from. But, hey, sticking in Denver, what else do we got going on there?
They raised their ticket prices. They're giving free marijuana to everybody who enters the stadium. No, the Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
How excited are you about this?
At first, I was okay, all right. But then the more I think about it, I've had time to soak and absorb this information. Like, I'm pretty good with it, Flip. I'm actually feeling it's a pretty good move for us. Like we were talking earlier, we've only given up that. Well, it says mid-round pick, so that's obviously an indication it's our fourth rounder.
Well, and what I believe I read today, and it can't be official yet until the new league year starts. So
right,
at 4:01 Eastern time, March 13th, then they'll complete the trade. But they're saying it's Denver's original fourth round pick. Now they do have Houston's fourth round pick, which they got for
Demaryius Thomas.
Yes.
Yep.
So I think it's great. I think it's a great upside for Denver here. It's the exit of journeyman 1-year wonder Case Keenum in Denver, obviously.
Yeah, this by no stretch, in my opinion, is our long-term answer. I think that he's going to come in. He's going to bring in a solution that we've been looking for the last couple of years. Give us a solid quarterback who's still got a great arm. Not the most accurate passer in the world. Throws a lot of interceptions and stuff like that.
His accuracy's not bad. It's mainly his decision making.
But the thing is we're not bringing him in to be a gunslinger. Like I think with the hiring of Mike Munchak coming in, the offensive line coach from Pittsburgh, who's had a great track record and a lot of success there in Pittsburgh with those running backs, bringing those in with the likes of Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman, you're going to run the ball a lot. You're going to get back to the days of the ground and pound with Denver, and you're going to rely on their great defense to keep you in the games and go out and win those games. So anytime that you can spend a fourth rounder and better your quarterback, I don't see how that's a lose.
Now, you're seeing him. So Flacco's actually he'll be under contract for the next 3 years. At fairly reasonable rates. I think it's 20. I don't remember. It's like 20 million. Shoot, I don't remember next year. Then I remember that in 2021 it goes to 24 million. Maybe it's 18 million. Yeah, I think it's 18 million this year. 20 million or so next year.
I was told I wasn't have to do math today.
Oops. Somebody told you wrong.
No, that's your specialty. That I can't help you on that one. I'm sorry.
I didn't write that part down. Case Keenum will leave behind $10 million in dead money, but he will save $11 million. Flacco does leave behind $16 million in dead money, but does save the team $10 million. So he must cost $16 million.
Yeah.
There, I'll do the math. I think it's $16 million this year, $20 million next year, and then $24 million.
I think it's a win-win situation for both teams involved.
Do you think he plays out his contract the next 3 years?
3, probably not. Okay. 2, I could see. I could see us going out, and by us, I'm sorry, Denver. I could see Denver going out and drafting a young quarterback, bringing him in, and letting a veteran quarterback who's got a long track record of playing in big games, playing well in big games, has a Super Bowl ring, former Super Bowl MVP, getting in there and helping grow and groom and develop this young quarterback. I mean, he's not, like I said, he doesn't have a loud personality. He doesn't cause problems. He would be a good mentor for the young kid that we inevitably bring in.
Kyler Murray this year?
Who knows what's going to happen?
Complete polar opposite quarterback.
So
you have a full-fledged statue that
I think Locke could be, learn well underneath him. Maybe Daniel Jones could come in and learn well from underneath him. But you bring in a guy like Kyler Murray, that's just it doesn't work out well. We saw how that worked in this year with Lamar Jackson.
That's what pushed Flacco out, was
right.
a dynamic running quarterback, and that's Kyler Murray to a T there. The thing is, Flacco would give them a year to sit there and percolate and soak and learn about the NFL. So drafting a rookie in the first round or seeing what's there in the second round, definitely a possibility for Denver.
Absolutely.
Raiders are without a home again after thinking they were going to play in San Francisco. Guess not. San Fran came out and basically blocked them and said, nope, that's our market. We're not going to let you play there.
That's crazy. That's just crazy. They're without a home. So I hear that they're going to be changing their name from the Raiders to the Nomads, and will be featuring the song "Wherever I May Roam" by Metallica when they come running out on the field.
And if every NFL market says you can't come and play here, I guess you have what you could play in Boise, you could play Mexico City, London. Okay, either way, who cares? We'll see.
Some poor city's gonna have to put them up.
Yes.
Oh, that's unfair.
So let's get into what teams are going to be looking for a running back. And
sticking with the Raiders, they could be out there looking for a guy. I mean, they've got Marshawn Lynch. Is he done?
Well, he's not under contract. Neither is Doug Martin.
Yeah.
So I mean, they only have Dwayne Washington.
Yeah, and Jalen Richard.
Yeah.
So that could be a team that's going out and looking for a new young stallion.
The Jets, fully talking about dumping Isaiah Crowell, even though he had a 219-yard game last year.
Jets also in contention for the Lev Bell sweepstakes.
The Bucks.
Oh, Ronald Jones. Woo!
But new regime, he might get a chance. That's my pick for Bell, though.
It's shaping up more and more likely. They cut Vinny Curry. Mm-hmm. They released him.
Yep, they're opening up cap space.
We talked about that last week, releasing some of those big name or expensive defensive guys
that are unproductive.
Yep.
I think Gerald McCoy might be the next guy on the chopping block.
So keep your eyes peeled there, Tampa. You may be getting some good news here before too long.
If not Bell, it might be one of these rookies that we're going to talk about here soon. The Jags with Leonard Fournette. I don't want to put the horse before the cart there.
No. That's still very much up in the air. If Fournette stays, they won't go get anybody.
No. The Redskins with AP and Geis. How does Geis come back from his ACL?
The news coming out of Geis camp last week was pretty good. He was running at full strength in straight lines, so hasn't been, shifting around a bunch on it and shifting weight, but full strength at straight speeds.
Well, and he's right around 6 months right now in his recovery.
Yep.
Eagles getting rid of J.J. He's a free agent. Geez, the kid's only 25, but it sure seems like he's been in the league a long time. But he's got a lot of injuries, and he's still got that chronic knee injury that everybody keeps talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've got Josh Adams there. How much do they believe in him? We'll see. Then Dolphins, no running back ever wants to go to Miami.
That's just like running back hell.
Oh,
But Adam
boy.
Gase is gone. Is that going to matter? Is Kenyon Drake going to get a shot there? Is Frank Gore going to come back for his 44th NFL season?
Yes, I believe he probably will.
Houston, Lamar Miller had some very good games, but boy, he's just underutilized there. And then you have Foreman, who he took a long time coming back from that Achilles, and really had nothing to offer.
I think they were just doing that right by him. I don't think they wanted to rush him because I really do believe that they believe in him a lot. So,
yeah, here's kind of like a throw in. I threw this in at the end. The Saints, Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram is, I believe.
Yeah,
I think he's either going to be 30 or will be 30 soon. He's a free agent,
and he's still got some tread left on those tires. He looked really good when he came back.
Does Kamara, do they trust him enough to actually be, a primary every down back?
I would think that you would have to. The guy just doesn't seem like he's got a weakness in his game.
I just worry about his size. I mean, he just keeps blowing away my expectations, though.
Similar to Christian McCaffrey.
Yes, definitely so. So, well, there's for the most part, your running back needy or possible needy teams that, we'll see what free agents, what happens with the free agents, and then the running backs that we're going to discuss, they might be, filling in. Some of the NFL free agents might just be waiting around until after the draft,
right,
to see if they can find a home.
And speaking of the draft, let's get into some of these guys that are going to be entering the draft this year.
Some of these terrible guys.
It's not all terrible. Not all terrible. Not all doom and gloom. We do have some bright spots here. Like the first guy I'm going to talk about here, David Montgomery out of Iowa State. Flip, I kind of like this guy. He's 5'11", 219, averaged 4.7 yards per carry in 2018, 1,216 yards, 13 touchdowns, 22 receptions, 157 yards as well. Actually, 2008, this guy's very, very elusive too. He breaks a lot of tackles. In 2018, he had 94 missed tackles, 892 yards after contact, and 40 10-plus yard runs on the year.
Now, what conference did he play in?
Does it? I don't think it matters that much.
Well, they don't play defense in the Big 12, do they? I don't think they do.
I think the only one that plays defense is probably the SEC.
Yeah.
But very balanced runner. He has the ability to break tackles. He had over 170 missed tackles in the last 2 years alone. Very elusive. I felt when watching his videos, he reminds me. Don't take this the wrong way, but he kind of reminds me of an early Adrian Peterson with his ability to make people miss while running like upright. So not like the Barry Sanders, like small, like jump, juke, spin moves and everything like that. Like when you'd see Adrian Peterson running at somebody and he wouldn't ever really crouch down. He would just have to find a way to like shifty and get around him. He reminded me a lot of that. But overall, his running style and his frame and everything in his game mostly reminds me of James White.
Yeah, I think that's pretty valid from what little I've seen of him. The thing is, a lot of these running backs, I've looked at the mock drafts, and I also need to say we're not doing this in any kind of projected order. We're not.
That is correct. Yeah, very important.
We're
to say
not
that.
saying Montgomery is going to be a first round pick or even a second round pick. I'm not even sure if any. Some of the mocks that I've seen him in, he wasn't even going in the second round. But these guys are definitely guys to keep in the back of your head to watch during the combine, to watch them where they go on draft day, because these guys might not be all inspiring, but neither was Kamara or Hunt when they came out. That's why they fell to the third round. And another guy here that definitely could go in the third round is David Singletary out of Florida Atlantic. Not a big name, popular running back school, is it?
No.
Yeah, he's 5'7", so a little guy, but 199, so he's pretty powerful. So Singletary averaged 5.2 yards a carry in 2018 for 1,348 yards and 22 touchdowns. But oddly enough, he only had 6 receptions for 38 yards, which you would think a guy his size, 6 receptions.
That's Philip Lindsay. It boggled my mind to think that. You'd think that a guy that size, you're right, can catch the ball in the backfield, or maybe they just don't need to utilize him in that aspect, but that is sure shocking.
Yeah. 94 missed tackles. Yards after contact, 1,027. 10-plus yard runs, 42. Second in the nation in missed broken tackles with 93, only behind Montgomery, who you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Very elusive, lots of yards after contact, big play potential. The big question that I'm thinking here is, how does he step up to the next level of competition? A big difference between, as bad as the Big 12 defense is, it's still Division I football.
Right, right.
I don't know if Florida Atlantic's Division I, but I bet they don't play very many decent Division I programs if they are.
And that's why you got to kind of take some of these stats with a grain of salt, and then when you actually just watch them and watch their running style, I feel like gives you a little bit better idea of what their potential could be. But moving on to the guy that, in my opinion, has risen probably to the top of my ranks and is probably my favorite out of this whole class, Darrell Henderson out of Memphis. He's 5'9", 200 pounds. Decided not to take a shot at 2,000 yards by rushing by skipping his bowl game to prepare for the 2019 NFL draft, which, I mean, we've seen that before in the past. People skipping out on that to not, subject themselves
It's becoming more and more common.
Yeah.
And I don't think it really hurts their draft status.
No, I think it's actually probably a pretty good business decision. But, he averaged 8.9 yards per carry in 2018 with 1,909 yards with 22 touchdowns, caught 19 passes, 295 yards with 3 scores. Forced missed tackles, he had 56. Yards after contact, 1,321. 10-plus yard runs, 55. This guy, like I said,
home run hitter.
He's probably my favorite out of the class. I think he looks the most ready to make an immediate impact in his first year, depending on where he ends up, of course. But I love this guy. When you watch his highlight film, if you get a chance, just do it, because it seems like every other play he's busting like 50-yard runs for a touchdown. He is absolutely a home run hitter. Great speed, great overall back. I love him.
Yeah. The other thing, I'm going to say it again, is
competition.
Yep. You always see a lot of these running backs in college who put up these spectacular numbers, but they're playing at colleges where, they might not be playing anybody, or just not playing a high level of competition. And then when they come into the NFL, then they seem to struggle. They seem to struggle with, they're playing against linebackers. Well, they're playing against defensive linemen that probably ran the same 40 times as linebackers in their conference.
Right. Yep.
So we'll see, but definitely a guy to watch at the combine.
Yeah.
And excited to watch where he goes.
I'm excited to watch him. I think he's going to be turning a lot of heads and garnering a lot of attention.
Now, the next guy is Bryce Love out of Stanford. 5'10", 196. 2018 he averaged 4.6 yards per carry for only 665 yards with 6 touchdowns. He had 18 receptions for 80 yards. He did tear his ACL in December and definitely will redshirt. Probably won't even play this upcoming year. I don't think a team's going to rush him.
No.
He really shot himself in the foot or knee, however you want to put it.
Oh, jeez.
Decided to stay in college one more year, and that could have cost him. To be fair, he would have come out in the same class as Barkley, Michelle, Chubb, and Geis.
Wow.
The 2018 season, 42 missed tackles, 583 yards after contact, 20 10-yard runs. Boomer bust kind of guy, with 4.40 speed. Very strong, has good vision and instincts, lacks durability, pass protection, and receiving ability. Kind of screams 2-down pounder at you.
Yep, sure does.
This is where he shot himself in the foot. When he stayed in college, he had just rushed for, I believe, 2,100 yards.
He had a monster season, I know.
It was just ginormous, and he decided this, wait. And then unfortunately tore his ACL against Cal early in December.
Yeah. In hindsight being 2020, you couldn't have predicted that. But like I said, he was going to be going up against a pretty monstrous running back class. Mm-hmm. So how much this cost him, we don't know. But you're right, that ACL injury, it's pretty scary and risky for NFL owners.
And, he was not having a very productive year. This is a guy who really could fall pretty bad in the draft, but you got to look back at that year, and if you're a dynasty league, it's a guy you want to stash on your taxi somewhere.
Yep. And you'll probably be able to get him cheap, late in the rounds.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about Elijah Holyfield from Georgia?
Elijah Real Deal Holyfield. Yeah, Vander's son, right? From Georgia. Yeah. 5'11", 215. Averaged 6.4 yards per carry for 1,018 yards, 7 touchdowns. Had 5 receptions for 40 as well. Split some time there in Georgia amongst some other running backs. Yeah, he had 31 missed tackles, 650 yards after contact, 34 10-plus yard runs. This guy's a powerful runner. One thing I noticed when watching film on him is that when he's running at you, he loves to square up, lower his shoulders, and then just take it right at you. He wants to run you over more so than get around you. He's not much of a home run threat. He doesn't really have that big play potential. But where this guy's going to thrive is in the red zones with goal line carries. I think next year, when he goes to a team, his fantasy value could very well be dependent on those touchdowns that he picks up in the goal line.
He really sounds a lot like, and I'm drawing a blank on the Baltimore guy. The guy that really came on towards the end of the year.
Alex Collins?
No.
This year?
Yeah, this year.
Gus Edwards.
Gus Edwards, yes. It really sounds like him, not much wiggle, definitely not going to catch, many passes, your prototypical 2-down pounder.
It kind of reminded me of LeGarrette Blount, his running style. He's a very powerful runner, a very strong kid. So
be interesting to see, if, where he goes. He'll probably be, your third round guy. Most of these guys aren't going to go in the first or second round. Mm-hmm. But here's one guy who a lot of the mocks are predicting to go in the first round. And that's Josh Jacobs from Alabama. 5'10", 216. Jacobs carried the ball only 120 times in 2018, but turned that into 640 yards, 5.3 yards per carry with 11 touchdowns. He also had 20 receptions for 247 yards. That's pretty good in limited time. Mm-hmm. And 3 scores. Forced 34 missed tackles, 493 yards after contact, 23 10-yard plus runs.
I'll jump in here. In my opinion, I know that he's projected high, but I feel he's very average in my opinion. He seems to be able to catch the ball well down the field, but nothing that I saw really wowed me. I don't know. Maybe his draft stock will be fairly high just because he's from Alabama. That's just my opinion.
And I think that's where a lot of it's really going to come from is, he was facing some of the best defenses in the nation.
Yes,
he was. And he was splitting time with the other kid that we're going to hop into next here. I did see, this is kind of funny when I was looking at mock drafts, seeing where people had them. And most of the mock drafts did have them going in, into the 20s in the first round. But Maurice Jones-Drew, boy, if you guys want to chuckle, Maurice Jones-Drew won me a couple of championships a number of years ago. But I got to his mock draft, and he had Jacobs going fifth. And
fifth overall
to the Bucks.
What?
Yeah. I giggled and I clicked back on my browser.
And then you snagged your IQ points back out of the TV screen. Yeah.
So Jacob split time with our next guy.
Yeah, Damian Harris. Now, see, this guy, he's 5'10", 214. Averaged 5.8 yards per carry in 2018 and 876 yards, 9 touchdowns, 22 receptions, 204 yards. This guy, Flip, he had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in 2016 and 17. This year, he was only 134 yards away from having 3 in a row. No other Alabama running back has ever done that, and I don't even know if any
That's crazy.
running back in the history of the college has ever done that. I could be wrong. I should probably vet that, but I think that he does. When you look at his counterpart with Jacobs, I think this guy's got the big play home run potential. I feel that he's more elusive, a little bit more shifty, faster than him. I like him better than Jacobs, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him taken higher than him. But again, the mocks are all on Jacob's side.
Yeah. But a lot of them are predicting Harris being drafted in the second round. There's quite a few of them that actually have Harris going as the number 2 guy. It's going to be interesting to see how that really plays out. Like we brought up early, the combine, boy, that's going to be a big decision, a big deciding factor when these guys have their pro days in March as well. So another guy that I do like is Benny Snell Jr. Kind of a fun name just to begin with.
Yeah.
Running back out of Kentucky. 5'11", 222. Snell averaged 5 yards per carry on the season for 1,449 yards with 16 touchdowns. He also had 17 receptions for only 105 yards, so definitely doesn't do a whole lot after the catch. But at 222, what do you expect for the most part?
Yeah.
Surprisingly elusive for how big he is. Runs hard, and it's hard to bring him down. Some say he's the best running back in school history.
I would agree. I mean, the way that he looks, the way that he runs. I mean, has there been a big name running back out of Kentucky?
I was just trying to think of that. The only big guys I can really think out of Kentucky was like that 300-pound kicker they used to have. Punter, I think he was.
No, you're talking about their quarterback, Jared Lorenzen.
That guy too. That guy's probably over 400 by now.
Yeah, he was on the Biggest Loser or something like that, wasn't he?
I missed him.
I don't know. Whatever. I don't want to fat shame anybody.
I'll have to.
He was a big dude. But I was trying to think if there's a big name guy from Kentucky, and I can't think of anyone. But just seeing the way that he runs, yeah, I'm a fan of his too. And I didn't really, honestly, going into this, without my research, I didn't know really anything about him, and I'm glad that I checked him out because he did impress.
What do you think about Justin Hill out of the vaunted Oklahoma State Cowboys there?
Yeah, Justice Hill. Big fan, actually. Another guy that impressed me. He's 5'10", 185, smaller guy. Averaged 5.9 yards per carry last year, 930 yards, 9 touchdowns. Also had 13 receptions for 68 yards. He's not only, one thing that stuck out to me is Flip. He's not only very fast, but he has breakaway speed, but he also is very quick. Once he gets the ball, he accelerates really fast. Shifty, elusive runner. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. I don't think that he was utilized fully to that capability.
I think you're right. You just look at those stats and you go, boy, why wasn't he utilized more?
I know. I mean, I feel just by looking at those catches that he did make and those plays that he made out of the backfield, catching the ball, he could be a great third down back for someone next year. The question is can he carve out more of a role for his future team other than just a third down, change of pace back?
Yeah, and that's really going to be, a big thing for this guy. And I think that's going to hurt his draft stock unless he. This is a guy who should kind of blow up at the combine. I don't know what he's going to run at 40 times. I'm not sure what anybody had projected him running 40 times at. but he's definitely got the elusiveness. Now, can he pull off an Alvin Kamara, where he comes in as a small guy, becomes electric, and they all of a sudden start giving him carries between the tackles like Kamara, and does he produce?
I think that's kind of the question mark surrounding all of these guys. They're going to have to pull off a Kamara if they want to be successful, because I know that we see some mock drafts with Jacobs potentially being drafted in the first round, but a lot of these guys that we're talking about, we hit it on early in the show. Like, we don't really have a generational talent like a Saquon Barkley coming out of this draft. So we have a whole slew of what seem to be, I don't want to say average, but maybe above average running backs that nobody really jumps out and is like screaming like, I'm the best. Like, I may have my personal favorite in Darrell Henderson, but honestly, any of these guys I feel could not only, I feel we're looking at third rounders here. Second to third rounders.
Second rounder, maybe 1 to 2. I think Jacobs does go in the first. I think Harris probably goes in the second at some point. One of these guys is probably going to sneak into the second as well.
Mm-hmm.
Third rounders, fourth rounders, we'll see. Maybe we're a little off base on some of these guys, and they do go later. Fifth, sixth, maybe we're talking about undrafted guys here too.
You never know.
You just don't know. You don't know what the, especially like Love with this torn ACL.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely could kick him clear out of the draft. For me, on any of these guys that I would probably, I don't think I will end up with Jacobs in either one of my dynasty leagues just because of my draft position. But definitely at some point, I will be looking at probably Justice Hill. Definitely going to tip my hand there. I do like the Snell kid as well. The rest are, it's going to be all about flow. If those leagues, if they're drafting, if these rookie running backs are flying off the board way too early, I'll be like, okay, I'm good with that. I'll go out and try to grab the veterans instead that might be out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that definitely wraps up the rookie running backs, that we, for this week. We don't know.
And that's what makes it hard to try to cover a wide range of these guys, because we just don't see a lot of them sticking out. So we just grabbed a handful of people's names that are circulating around as being potential top running back guys. There's going to be inevitably probably someone that we're missing out. We're going to miss out. A lot of people are going to miss out. Maybe go get drafted in the 5th, 6th round, or maybe not even drafted at all, that could rise to the top.
Mm-hmm. Like I had Weber out of Ohio State. I'm going to think it's Weber. Might have been Weber. I don't know.
Weber.
And I took him off the list because he was kind of just
average.
An average guy, even though he did play at Ohio State, a bigger name than some of the schools that we mentioned. So it's going to be really fun to look back at this podcast and go, ooh, how did we do against these guys?
Yeah.
Where did we fail on our predictions?
Right. How did we miss that guy?
Yeah. What were we thinking? And how did Jacobs fall to the 4th round? I don't think.
Or why the heck was Jacobs taken in the 1st round?
Yeah. Well,
he could be
maybe be thinking that in like October, November when he
could be this year's Ronald Jones.
Yes, absolutely, definitely could be, because Jones was the second round pick last year.
Yeah.
So, that wraps it up for this week. We touched on the news, the big Hunt, the big Flacco news, throughout our running back needy teams. And, went through, 9 different running backs that are going to be in this year's draft.
Yeah, we covered quite a bit. One thing I wanted to touch base with you on is circling back to part of the news and notes, part of it around the Flacco situation. And since we're talking running backs today, I feel that with Flacco getting traded to Denver, Baltimore is pretty much, they fully committed and bought into, okay, now this is Lamar Jackson's team, and he's not known for his passing prowess, So he's going to be throwing the ball, 20, 25 times a game. So it means they're probably going to be leaning heavily on the run game. Does that help Lev Bell's chances of ending up in Baltimore?
It does clear cap space, but I think they're clearing out cap space to sign Suggs and Mosley, and they have another stud linebacker who I'm not going to try to say his name. No, I'm not going to do it. Maybe I'll look it up for next week's show and then spell it out, because it's off my tongue radar of being able to say.
Yeah, because Mosley's a free agent this year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they have a lot of money that they plus they have a very weak wide receiver core.
Mm-hmm. So they're clearly committing to a quarterback who's not going to be much of a passing quarterback. So they're going to have to lean on the run, similar to what Denver I feel is going to be doing this year, relying on the run and their solid defense play. So if that's the case, like one of the first things I thought of is like, okay, well, if they're committing to Lamar Jackson, like, does that mean they have a plan in place to solve their running back situation?
I would definitely call Baltimore a real dark horse just because of their cap situation. They have these big ticket items that they want to keep. You can't let Suggs or Mosley leave that defense, I don't think.
Not at all.
I think that would be, definitely hurting one of the better defenses in the league that's been a perennial good defense year in, year out.
Mm-hmm.
So, and since we just talked about Baltimore and Denver, maybe not so much Denver, but definitely Baltimore, it gets us into next week's show right there. Wide receivers we're going to cover next week. Now, wide receivers is probably going to be one of the premier positions of the draft for fantasy football-wise.
I'm looking forward to covering that and diving in and learning some more about these folks that are coming out, have some high value attached to their names already. I'm looking forward to diving in and figuring out, kind of what's what out there.
Because a lot of the mocks are having, up to four wide receivers going into the first round and definitely another handful in the second. A lot of impact players.
Mm-hmm.
That will be coming in and maybe rolling onto a Baltimore team that would immediately help out Lamar Jackson, be a big upgrade on, Michael Crabtree that loves to drop every pass thrown to him, or every other pass, I should say. And so that's going to be a really, really fun section, because we're definitely going to have more quality to talk about than we have the previous 2 weeks. And then the next show after that, we get into the tight ends, which is an excellent super class this year as well.
Absolutely. It's kind of all uphill from here.
Yes. Yeah. We've gotten rid of the multitude of, oh God, these guys are really going into the first round quarterback wise and trying to piece together some of these running backs that may or may not, where are they going to land in the draft? Where are they going to go? The wide receivers are definitely going to be a lot more spectacular.
Yeah, and like we've said many times, it's super, super early, so don't put anything that we have to say to stone or anything like that, but we're just kind of getting out there ahead of the game, just kind of putting our feelers out, diving in, getting some more info on these guys so that we have a little bit better understanding of these guys coming into the combine, and so that we can help kind of enlighten you all too on some guys that maybe you're not super familiar with.
Yeah, and just to keep an eye out on the combine and for their pro days and get you familiarized like we did on some of these names. So so reach out to us on Twitter. Let us know if we were totally off base on some of these running backs, or maybe some of the teams you don't think we listed are really needy. So our Twitter is INTStreamPod. You can always shoot us an email, intentionalstreaming@gmail.com.
And this is a fantasy show, so if you have questions, dynasty questions, trade questions, hit us up. Let us know. We'll bounce our ideas and our thoughts off onto you guys and let you know what we think.
We promise not to giggle too much. Okay, I promise not to giggle too much. So, well, thank you everybody for listening and tuning in or dropping in if you didn't catch us live. And same bat time, same channel next week.
Absolutely. Yeah, looking forward to covering the wide receivers, and we will catch you. See what I did there? Then.
Oh, yeah.
Where's that rim shot sound effect?
So, all right. We will catch you guys next week. Thank you.
See y'all.
Bye.